All right, it's time for a patron review for Corey, who requested Vacancy from 2007, a movie that I saw once back when it came out, and I haven't seen it since. Didn't remember too much about it, so I was pretty excited to watch it again because it was like watching it for the first time. I didn't know who was going to live or die by the end. And this is from the director of Predators, the sequel to Predator, the best sequel in that franchise, and this is from the writer of Overlord, the Martyrs remake, which I haven't seen, but I can't imagine it's better than the original, and The Hole, which is a Joe Dante film. I've seen that movie once, don't remember much about it, and The Revenant with Leonardo DiCaprio. So what this movie is about is a couple whose marriage is failing, gets lost and their car breaks down, so they stop at this shady, old-fashioned looking motel to spend the night, and when they get in there, they start to quickly realize that the people who run this place like to create snuff films. It quickly turns into a long night of terror and a fight for survival, and this is way better than I remembered it being. And but what I don't like about the movie, just a few little things. I thought the ending was a bit of a cop out. It feels like there was a test screening, people complained, and then they went back and they changed something real quick. And the movie does have quite a few tropes in it, and it feels a bit generic at first. The couple having car troubles, they don't know how to read a map, they get lost, they stop at a shady looking hotel, yada yada yada. There's no cell phone service. They have a bad signal, so they can't call for help. And even if help does arrive, it's always some cop who just looks like he's 2 days away from retirement or very overweight, and they don't help out ever. And lastly, I thought that the masks that the killers in this movie are wearing just weren't creepy enough. They just look too Leslie Vernon like, but way less creepy. It's just like these dark green or black painted masks that they're wearing over their face with like beanies over it. They just look like people going to rob a bank or something. Like they should have been wearing some creepy ass masks. Getting into what I like about the movie is David and Amy, the main two protagonists, the couple who are in a rough place in their life. There was a recent death in the family. They're clearly going through a divorce. They have some pretty humorous bickering dialogue, mumbling insults under their breath. Like, grow a penis, Kate Beckinsale says that at one point. Now, I thought Kate Beckinsale and Luke Wilson were pretty good in this, and the actor who plays the manager, I thought, gave a really good performance, especially when he's like putting on a fake face and pretending to be this nice guy. Like, he gives a really good, phony, nice guy performance. To me, these are very well developed protagonists that you can root for. They're pretty smart. They can think quickly on their feet. They're making the best decisions they can. They're trying to find weapons and think of exit strategies. Like every decision they make in this movie made sense to me. There wasn't a moment where I was like, I can't believe they just did that, and now like you just want them to die as a result. They don't do anything so idiotic. I think the premise of this movie is quite terrifying. Just putting yourself in these characters' shoes, I think it would be absolutely horrifying to be in this situation. And it's a very simple premise. It's not too complex, and I think it's a nice like trapped one setting location that never gets dull, and it's pretty suspenseful from the moment they hear knocking. It just never lets up. It's pretty relentless. It has a great pace. I dug the soundtrack. It's not conventional. I thought the climax was pretty thrilling and cathartic, and so I just really dug the hell out of this movie on this watch. So, final thoughts. This is an underrated edge of your seat thriller with terrific protagonists who you can root for, a simple, scary premise, and makes you second guess wanting to stay at a shady motel ever again. So, when it comes to Vacancy, I'll give it 4.5 out of 5. Alright, spoiler discussion. So, the opening credits are very long and kind of boring, but then they kind of make up for it by taking all the words and making this neat like transition shot. They have all the names of everything you were reading for 3.5 minutes. they like form together and they make the license plate of their car. So it was a neat transition shot, but it was kind of hard sitting through like 3 minutes of not visually interesting opening credits. So one of the first things that happens in this movie is he swerves out of the way to avoid hitting a raccoon, and I just don't understand why everyone always makes that decision in horror movies. They want to swerve out of the way. Like, is that really your instinct? Like, I feel like mine would just be to hit the brakes, or who cares, just keep driving and run over the damn thing. It's a little raccoon. I don't think it's gonna like flip your car over if you run over it. So just run over the damn thing or hit your brakes. But in horror movies, they always like to swerve and then they end up crashing as a result in most movies. Not in this case, but I do love that they have like this reoccurring joke throughout the first half of the movie where the wife will say like it was a squirrel, and he'll argue like, no, it was a raccoon, quit making it sound like it was nothing, like some small critter. It was a bigger critter, it was a raccoon. They pull up to an old gas station, and Ethan Embry is playing the mechanic, who's done quite a few horror movies since this, like Late Phases, a wonderful underrated werewolf movie, and The Devil's Candy. And so yeah, the car breaks down a second time, so they have to walk all the way back. So now they have no car and no weapon. You thought they were setting up this knife that she was using to cut an apple, but she leaves that knife in the car, so she never has it later on in the movie. It was weird because usually when they set something like that up, it usually comes back later, but she never actually retrieves that weapon. The moment they step foot into this motel, something already seems wrong. They hear a woman screaming like she's being murdered in the back room, and it turns out to just be, the manager walks out, he's like, oh, it's just some, movie. And it turns out to be a snuff film later, but when the wife hears this, when they first walk in, she's like, all right, we just need to leave. Like, she's already wanting to walk all the way back to the car. So I liked that because that seemed realistic. I feel like that would be me in that situation. Like, all right, fuck this. We're going back to the car. So when they get in their room, they quickly realize what a mistake they made. This place looks very outdated and just disgusting. Like, it hasn't been cleaned. The water is very, like, brown. I'm not sure what would cause that. And there's a giant cockroach on the wall that only we as the audience see. The characters never see this cockroach, which I thought was interesting. I thought that was a setup and that cockroach was going to like be discovered later, and like much later she would be like hiding in the bathroom, and then she would see the cockroach and then she would scream and give away her position or something like that. But no, it's just like a scare for the audience, and it really did make me squirm in my chair when I first saw it. So then, just like The Strangers, we get some loud knocking at the door, the creepy knocks, but then the knocks get much louder and more intense, and then it's on the other door in the motel, and it just keeps going back and forth. Whoever this is like going from door to door, disturbing them. And if I was in this situation, I'm not sure what I would do, but it just would be terrifying. David discovers some VHS tapes on the top of the TV, puts them in, and very soon after realizes that what he's watching is real, and that the people he's seeing getting killed are in the same room as him and his wife. And one of the dudes in one of those tapes is actually the guy from the Final Destination. I couldn't tell at first when I saw him. I was like, that looks like the dude from the Final Destination and the Prom Night remake and the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. And then I looked it up much later, and yeah, that's him. Then with the help of the tapes he's watching, he's able to locate where all the hidden cameras are. But what I thought was weird is that he doesn't tell his wife about it, and he doesn't try to like automatically destroy them. Like, I feel like if it were me, I would tell my wife right away, like, holy shit, we're on camera right now. Look, there's a camera right there. But he keeps his mouth quiet about it and doesn't ever really tell her until like much later in the movie, when he's starting to like use the cameras to his advantage and have her, stay still where the camera can see her so that they don't come breaking in thinking they're gone. So I thought that was just interesting that he didn't tell her right away, and the fact that he didn't break them. I feel like if it were me, I would break the cameras instantly so that they wouldn't have the satisfaction of taping me scared and killing me on camera. One little detail that I really liked is that when he goes to open up the shower curtain thinking that someone might be behind it, he like already has his arm cocked back, ready to punch whoever's standing behind it. Usually in other movies, they'll walk up to the shower curtain and open it, not ready to punch or don't even have a weapon in their hand. But this guy was like ready for it just in case. So I really appreciated that little detail. Another thing that I kind of liked was the fact that he lied about having a gun to make them back off for a few seconds. They're like knocking really loud on the door trying to break in. He's like, I got a gun. And it makes them back off for a few seconds. But he should know that they're watching, so they would quickly realize, no, he doesn't have a gun. At some point, David gets in a payphone and calls the cops, and I guess they somehow wired the payphone in a way that would make it to where if they ever call the cops, it just calls the front desk of the motel. And this is something that's been done in quite a few movies, so I wasn't shocked when it was revealed that the cop he thought he was talking to was actually the front desk manager. Like, it sounded like him. I recognized the voice like instantly. And, it's something, like I said, that's been done quite a few times, so I kind of expected it. They did it the same year in P2 when What's-Her-Face is in the elevator and she thinks she's called the cops with the elevator phone, and then it's like, nope, it's actually the psycho who's stalking you. Then David makes a couple more smart decisions. He realizes that he really has no weapon at all, so he walks into the bathroom and breaks the mirror to have a shard of glass as a weapon. So it's like smart. And then he starts watching all the tapes to study them and look for mistakes, to memorize where all the cameras are, and then he realizes from watching the tapes that there has to be like a secret room, some secret door in the bathroom, because that's where most of the people in the tapes seem to keep getting killed in front of. Then there's a scene in the movie where a trucker in like a big 18-wheeler pulls up, and you're not quite sure if he's to be trusted or not, if he's just another killer or if he's just some random trucker who's lost looking for directions or wants a place to stay. Like, throughout the whole scene, you're not quite sure, and then there's a moment where the two killers are approaching him from behind. He doesn't see them, and they have like weapons drawn out, so you're thinking like, oh shit, they're about to kill him. So he's not a bad guy, and then they just walk right past him, and he buys snuff films from the manager, and you're like, oh shit, he really is a bad guy. At some point, Amy manages to call the police, but all she can really say before having to ditch the phone, otherwise she'd be caught, she says, they're killing us. And they only send one cop to that location. Really? One cop, and this cop is like pushing 60, looks very overweight, and so of course he's not going to be very much help. And I thought for a moment that he was going to accidentally shoot and possibly kill one of our two characters. I thought they were going to do that, like, oh shit, not only is he not going to be able to help them, but he's actually going to harm them. But he didn't shoot them, thankfully. But yeah, then the cop car gets ruined, so they can't leave with that car either, and the cop gets killed almost instantly once he realizes what's happening. So then David smartly starts blocking some of the cameras. He plants a piece of his wife's shirt on the window in the bathroom, making it look like she escaped, and then hides her in like the attic. And then when he goes to leave, thinking that the killers are around the corner, pushing the cop car away, he gets stabbed in the gut as soon as he opens the door. And you think he's dead, and it's a pretty shocking moment. And meanwhile, as he's bleeding out on the ground, crawling, the wife has to witness all this and try not to scream or cry about it, which would just be one of the hardest things to do. So then she falls asleep and wakes up the next morning, starts sneaking out. I'm not sure what I would do. I feel like I would just hide up there a little longer. Maybe try sneaking out at night the next night. But because I feel like it would be easier to sneak out at night if they think you're already like way gone. But she leaves the next morning, broad daylight, and automatically gets seen by one of the killers and hops in the car. One of the killers is like in the sunroof, halfway in, attacking her, and then she crashes into one of the other killers. And then I guess the crash somehow also killed the guy in the sunroof. So she killed two of them right away. Then she gets in a fight with the manager and at some point manages to get the gun that was set up earlier in the movie hanging on the wall. She gets it and shoots him a few times. And I'm glad they didn't do like one last scare. It seemed like they were going in that direction, or they were going to reveal like there was a fourth killer. But nope, she killed all three of them. And then she finds out that her husband is still alive. I feel like he would be dead. It seems like it's been many hours and he's still there in the same spot, so it's not like he crawled away and patched himself up. He's just been in the same spot for hours, bleeding. I feel like, realistically, he would be dead. But she calls the cops, so help's on the way, so maybe he'll live. So yeah, that's the end of Vacancy. Well, what are your thoughts on this movie? Have you seen the sequel? Vacancy 2, the first cut? Sounds like a prequel. Is it good? Doesn't have very favorable reviews, but let me know what you thought about this and the sequel in the comments below. And as always, if you like what you've seen here, you can hit this like button and become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And remember, it's all an opinion. You don't need to get butthurt about it.